Hey guys, Mark Barnard here from South African Deaf Rugby, and I figured basically I've had flu for the last couple of weeks and haven't really been able to train, so I figured I may as well do something a bit more constructive with my time while I'm missing out on actually getting some runs in and stuff. Um, I figured one of the things that I really have been kind of toying with the idea of doing for the last while actually is putting together some video stuff. Just to try and raise awareness, educate people on deaf culture, let people know about deaf rugby in general, all that sort of thing. And I know there's been a lot of questions while I've been posting to Reddit, to Twitter, to Facebook, to pretty much every social media. Let's kind of hop right in. I'm going to do a different topic. I'm going to try and do these daily. Depends if I get enough questions, depends if there's something I really want to tackle, all that sort of thing. It's going to be kind of casual. This is the first time I'm really doing any kind of real content creation on my own. So let's take this and see where it goes. I think probably for a first topic, the best thing to really kind of dive into, and I'm sure the question that a lot of you are going to have right now straight up with the way that I'm doing this video is, if I'm deaf, how the hell am I speaking to you? Well, when you look at deafness and hearing loss, there's basically like a whole spectrum of it. When you look at hearing loss, obviously you can be a little bit deaf and you can be all the way 100%, and actually even saying that, you can't really say you're a certain percentage deaf because of the way that sound works. If you're anywhere near any kind of music or sound industry, you'll know that sound works in frequencies, right? So you get high pitches, which are higher frequencies, and you get low pitches, which then are your deeper, your bass, and that sort of thing. And kind of there's thousands of different ways to go deaf, really. There's so many diseases out there. There's the physical structure of the inner ear is a thing that you can degrade by going overboard with loud music and sound. Some of the guys that I played against in the Wales series in 2015 were ex-military who had lost hearing because of concussive force. So there's a bunch of different things that happen there, and it can be to a certain degree. So it's, in my case, I've got a 90 decibel hearing loss, right? Which across all the major frequencies. So basically, to put it in perspective, it's kind of going to be about as loud as a chainsaw right next to my ear before I'll hear you. But I was lucky. Growing up, I had a very close-knit family who gave me all the support that I needed. I was lavished with attention because I was the oldest cousin on both sides of my family, and it meant that I was the first kid in the generation. So every uncle, every aunt, both sets of grandparents, I got all the attention. And that means that I got a bit of a leg up on even just regular early childhood development. And that means that I ended up being able to learn to speak. I had all of that input. And the other thing is my hearing wasn't quite as bad when I was a kid. So I was able to acquire speech early on, and it then grew up in the hearing world and the hearing community. So that was my experience. English is my first language. Sign language is my third language after Afrikaans. Don't ask me to speak Afrikaans, please. No. I didn't grow up I'm from KZN. We don't speak Afrikaans here. We just don't do it. We don't do that here. But it's a case of I will never be able to immerse myself in the language in the same way as I have with South African Sign Language. Your brain picks up and develops differently depending on the stimuli that it's able to take in. So I was lucky that I got that early childhood window where I could pick up oral language. And then after that, in about my grade 11 year, I had a major further loss, and that pretty much it. I'm now completely dependent on hearing aids. I've got obviously my big old behind the ear one here, which needs updating. So that's where we're at. So you'll get broadly, there's kind of like three cultural groups, so to speak. You get your deaf with a big capital D. Those are the guys who only speak sign language. That's that's their home language. That's what they've grown up with. That's what they use. That's what the kids that I teach use on a daily basis. They won't use English because they don't speak it at home. And actually, we'll get into that on another topic on another day. I've got a lot to say on that one. But yeah, so you get the deaf community who use sign language. That South African Sign Language is their home language. And there's a whole culture and tradition and all of this that built up around it. And that's, I only got accepted into the deaf community in kind of my early to mid 20s. When I first learned sign language, and it took a while to really get involved and be accepted and be given a sign name, and there's endless stuff that we can dig into on that. Then the second group would be what you would call hard of hearing, and that's what I was before coming into the deaf community. What we call a small D as well, where you meet the medical criteria for being deaf, but you use an oral language rather. You speak, or you don't speak at all. You get even in that different kind of like subsets. So small D is medically deaf. You're not involved in the community. You don't have the culture, all that sort of thing. Which means that, and I think a lot of people who fall into that category can feel very isolated. I know in my grade 11 year, my matric year, I gave my parents endless trouble. And it was largely because I was wrestling with my identity at that point. And it's just a case of you're different from everybody else, and you don't want to accept it, because we're social creatures. We want to feel that connection to other people and feel like we belong somewhere. And I think for me, a lot of my passion in doing this is also about giving guys who grew up like me in hearing schools, in the hearing world, and give them a place to belong. I mean, come on, it's like I said, there's a whole spectrum. We can invite these guys into the deaf community, and there's a place for you. Sign language is amazing to learn, and if we can bridge that gap between the deaf, big D community, those who are medically deaf but don't feel like they've got a place to belong, they're hard of hearing, and the hearing world, I mean, instead of it being a divide, it can be a bridge. That's really something that I feel pretty strongly about. And then of course, from there you now get your hearing world, where people don't really have hearing loss, or if you do, a lot of you are ignorant of it. A lot of you have it, but you're ignorant of it, and you need to go and get tested, especially if you work in any kind of high noise environment. If you've had mumps, measles, there's a lot of diseases and things out there that can damage your hearing. What else? There's the TB vaccine. Those are all treatments that can damage your hearing. If you overdo it in bars and in clubs and that sort of thing without using ear protection, if you go shooting, it's all that kind of thing. And I think the kicker here, and I think, let me actually end this all because I'm sitting at 8 minutes, I can see this. The real kicker here is if you have some kind of hearing loss and you leave it, it can get worse over time. It's not something that you want to leave. It will degrade. Go get it checked out, go treat it. If you're not sure if you've got hearing loss, go to an audiologist, go and get tested. It's like $300 at the high end, guys. Medical aid will cover most of it. Most medical aid do have that kind of cover. If you got it, use it. If you don't have it, then go to something like a hearing aid labs. There's quite a few places that will give you a free first consultation. So look after your hearing health. Unlike the Quad Para Association, we don't say, we don't want more members. But it is something that you can avoid having get worse for yourself. And it's got a whole lot of secondary knock-on effects in terms of your mental health, and your cognitive health, especially in later years. So, I I'm now rambling a bit, so I said I would end this at 8 minutes. It's now approached 10. So yeah, if you've got any questions, any topics, anything that you want to really explore, shoot me comments on this, and yeah, I'll do my best. Let's see what we can get into.